Good evening. I'm going to call to order the meeting for this evening, June 2nd, 2021. Very exciting to be back in person. It's very weird to see Chris sitting over there, not at the table. But it's great to be back, and it's great to have a meeting with so many positive things happening. So I'm really excited about tonight's meeting. So we're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. You can stand. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I also want to welcome our new school committee member, Carrie McCrae. Welcome. She's joining us for the first time. And also Vivica Stuckey did I say that right? Just making sure. Is joining us in person for the first time. So she is our student representative for school committee. So welcome to both of you. So we are going to start this evening. Well, first of all, is there anyone that would like to make a 3-minute public statement? Chris, would you like to make a 3-minute public statement? Okay. You only have 3 minutes and we cannot comment on it.
That's true. That's why I'm going to do this now.
Okay, if I take the mask off while I speak, and I kind of like to turn the podium a little bit, folks, because while I'm talking to them, I'm also like to talk to my my crew here. All right, first, a couple of things I'd like to thank everybody. The first person in the room I'd like to thank is my wife, Colleen, over here. And with that, I'd like to lead this into, I want to thank all of your families, not just you, but all of your families, because I think what's often unsaid is the amount of sacrifice that's shared between you and your families, and they're never there for the accolades. So believe me, I know this well. My family knows it well. So with that, I'd like to go on to a few other things. Okay, first, this is a thankless job. So the reason I'm here is to try and thank some of the people that are not just, other than maybe some digital dust and archives of minutes and meeting notes, their name is not going to be remembered. So I'd like to just bring out a few people. My original crew from 2012, Laura Senna, Jay O'Hara, Heather DiPaolo, Catherine Walton, Matt Stook, and the Venerable Anne-Marie Sarunian. They were, just to give you an idea, they were a school committee back then that when we ran into some problems with O'Hara, asbestos in People's School. People's School is a memory for many of us now, but at the time it was real, and we were wiping tables and cleaning rooms and mopping floors and running fans as a school committee. That is a Bourne school committee. It really is. And that's what I learned on. That's what I cut my teeth on. Great group. Our select board, Judy Froman, past school committee member, George Slade, Peter Meyer, who's done so much for the schools, Jared McDonald, and Mary Jane Mastrangelo. I have a huge vote of gratitude for everything that we have been able to accomplish. It would not have been done without Mary Jane, FinCom, and Capital Outlay. Extraordinary efforts. The school is a better place because of their work. Building committee, chaired by Jim Potter, Rick Howe, Rich Lavoie, Kathy Anderson, Donna Buckley, Dusty, Tony, all the others. You've heard enough. It takes a mountain of people and people's efforts to put a building together. And we just didn't do that. We'll more about that in a moment. The BEA, Lori Gilbert, Maureen Holden, Anne-Marie Strode, and Teresa Clifford, and many others in the BEA, including Mary Jo, wherever you are. I learned a lot from you folks. I learned a lot about negotiations, people, understanding what it's like to be a teacher. I'm married to a teacher, but understand a teacher in a system, a public school system. So it was great. The admin team, Ed Donahue. Many of you probably don't even know who he was. I know Jordan does. Ed Donahue was the original Director of Business Services. I worked very closely with him in the beginning. He wrote the original statement of interest to make People's School what it is today, Bourne Intermediate School. So thank you, Ed. Jane Norton, well, first off, Amy Setner, Christine Borning, Liz Carpenito, Dr. Joe, the most extraordinary principal team that you could ask. They put students first every single day. Jane Norton, the principal of Bourne Intermediate School, her tenacity is only outdone by her love for her kids. I think she's an extraordinary principal, and she's always got a place in my heart. And Jane, if you're listening, I will get the time capsule done. I'm very, I want to just go 3 other people that are very important to me. Jordan Geist, extraordinary guy. Did a lot of work for, he lives in Falmouth, but you would think he bled purple. He really often takes this entire school district and puts it on his back. Great guy. Melissa Ryan, her departure, I cannot be more proud of her success as she takes on a new role as superintendent in Berkeley, Somerset schools. They're getting just a tremendous asset in Melissa Ryan, and I wish her all the best. But this district would not be the same if it hadn't been for her efforts here in Bourne. And then our former superintendent, Stephen LaMarche, wherever you are, Steve, in Connecticut, actually working very closely in his more hometown district. It was Steve and his efforts to put Bourne in the track and the trajectory that we're in. It wasn't always easy. There were challenges along the way, but I learned about putting students first from Steve. And thank you, Steve. Finally, to all of you, I'm a proud citizen of Bourne. I like it when the town can come. We've had some good times and we've had some tough times as a town, like all towns do. But incredibly, Bourne comes together. And the key is understanding, respect, and appreciation for everybody that comes to the table, for every opinion, for every opportunity for someone to have a difference of opinion. It's your opportunity to teach them. And that's what I'm asking you folks to do. Take that opportunity, put children first every time, and it will work. Okay, thank you, and sorry you can't comment.
Thank you, Chris. Well, if it's okay with the committee, I'm going to switch it around and do the recognition first, because I feel like this was a good lead-in. Is that okay with everyone? Okay, excellent. So we are going to recognize you, Chris, this evening for your 9 long years on school committee and all of the time and effort that you have put into this job, because it is a job. It might not be a paid job, but it's a job, and it takes a lot, and we just could not be more grateful for the service that you have provided and everything you've done, and especially for all of us, because we are such a new school committee. You and Steve have helped us so much, but you've really led the way to let us be a independent school committee of new members. And so I feel really good about that, and I would never have taken this position if it weren't for you and all of your help, because I didn't know what I was doing at the beginning, but you were very helpful. So thank you. Thank you for everything you've done. We have some gifts for you, but first, before I do that, I would like to know if anyone wants to speak, say anything. They're a very quiet committee. Okay, well, we have a gift on behalf of the school committee to say thank you. It's okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. We also have a special guest here this evening to present something else to Chris. Representative Vieira?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So 9 years, Chris. 9 years, last man standing from when I became a rep. You were just coming on to the school committee just after I got elected after my first term. And you worked with a team that created a vision. And working with the superintendent at the time, I remember getting the calls and coming to the meetings talking about we need to get some money to build a school. But the team was very committed under your leadership and the superintendent's leadership that this wasn't just about a building. It was about a transformation of the educational system in the town of Bourne, the way you deliver education, changing your grade levels, bringing young people from the community together at an earlier age to create a stronger sense of Bourne together instead of being sort of parochial like we still are in Falmouth with all of our village schools. And then at some point there's that anxiety of we're going to come together and meet the other kids from Sagamore and Pecasset and Katomet and Bournedale and the Bay. But steadfast in transforming a system, not just building a building. And that's something that really stuck with me, because usually you get these calls and it's about infrastructure and it's about a building. I was at a ceremony yesterday where we put the beam on the top of the building at the Cape Cod Community College for their new science building, and one of the earmarks I worked on with them. But those are projects and buildings in better educational setting. But this was really a whole transformation of the way it's delivered. And that's exciting. That's an exciting legacy for you to have, for your team that worked with you, as you look back on those 9 years of service. Now, I don't come as often as I used to. I used to be on the Education Committee, and so Chris used to see me 3 to 4 times a year. We used to come and update after all the hearings and what was happening. But I do want the new members of the school committee to know that reach out to myself and Representative Zaros and Senator Moran at times when you would like us to come in to talk about particular items or issues or things that are happening on the Hill. But today we have recognition from the House and the Senate. I know you live on the other side of town, and it's Representative Zaros who had an obligation tonight. But on behalf of Steve Exaros and myself and Speaker Mariano, we want to recognize you for your 9 years of dedicated service to the Bourne School Committee, where you served a number of years as chair. And the entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all endeavors. And also from Senator Moran and the Senate President, Karen Spilka, the same recognition. Congratulations, and I know we'll see you involved in the community in other ways. And I hope he doesn't mind that I stole a line of his from the retirement celebration the other morning when I was at the college. And he said, a school is a building with 4 walls that houses tomorrow. Congratulations.
Thanks again.
On preparing.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you. So our next very exciting item on our agenda is another celebration. We have created this year a Navigator Award, and it is an award on behalf of the school committee for what word am I looking for? Just going above and beyond with the core values of the district. Exemplifying the core values of the district. We have 4 students this evening that are going to be receiving the award. We're so proud to be able to get this together and be able to present this award this evening. Even though it's the very end of the school year, we wanted to have it done before the school year ended because we felt that it was really important, especially for the students who are receiving it. But before we give those awards out, we do have some honorable mentions that I would like to announce. We did have an entire 6th grade class that was nominated for the Navigator Award, and they are receiving honorable mention. I'm going to read you a little bit of what the teacher wrote, because I think it speaks a lot to the award. One second. Okay. Lisa Bizganis, grade 6 teacher, she nominated her entire class for demonstrating compassion to a new student, to each other. They worked together and they navigated through COVID. And her line from this was, "Never have I ever been so impressed by the level of respect this class has shown to all teachers and classmates this year. They deserve this type of recognition and so much more." So unfortunately, we were not able to give this award to everyone, but we did feel that they definitely deserved honorable mention. So the students are Hannah Audette, Bryce Barton, Abigail Ballard, Tyrone Cardoza, Angelina Fernandez, Kevin Garvey, Chase Harmon, Olivia Horn, Keegan Johnson, Ariana Lopes, Carly Lundell, Charles Seitz, Adriana Sylvia, Ryan Washburn, Jesse Zako, Melody Brodier. Jesse Zako was the last from that class. So those students will be receiving their award in person at their school, and Dr. Joe and myself, we will go to the school to present those awards, so it'll be a special little ceremony for them. There were also 4 kindergarten students who were nominated for being role models, giving their best effort, and being positive influences on the dynamics of their class. And those students were nominated by Mrs. Shanahan in kindergarten, and they are Melody Brodier, Lena Chase, Emily Page, and Addie, I think it's Vecchione. Pretty sure that's how you say it. So congratulations to those 4 kindergarten students who have worked so hard, and again, we will be presenting them with certificates at their schools within the next couple weeks. This evening, we do have 4 awards for students who have just gone above and beyond this year. And I know their teachers are here as well to be able to say a little something about them. And the first student is Abigail Crook. Mrs. Lyons, if you are here and you would like to say something. Mrs. Lyons here? Not this evening? Okay, well then I'm going to read what she wrote in Abigail's form. She said, Abby was a remote student, the only remote student, and on her own, without any prompting, she set up weekly study groups on Monday afternoons for students who were remote. She sent out invites to meet on the backyard.com meeting site in order to collaborate on projects and classwork, as well as provide a platform for social interaction. She never told her teachers about this. She just did it. Abby has shown a level of responsibility throughout the year, but these study groups she provided as an extension of the classroom for remote students had benefits far beyond the classroom. For a 6th grade student to do that on her own is just so commendable. And Abby, you should be very proud of yourself, and we are very proud of you. Congratulations, Abby. Thank you. Thank you.
My goodness. We invite paparazzi. A nice picture. This is your moment. And turn around. All right. There you go. Congratulations. All right. We can wait. Yeah. Congratulations.
The next 3 Navigator Awards are going to 3 students who work together in collaboration on a project. That is the entire reason why Vivica sits at our table today. So, Michael Carrera, Eric Iardi, and Jeff Ellis. If you would like to stand. Thank you, gentlemen. And I know Mrs. Strode is here and would like to say something, but I just wanted to say very quickly that these students were nominated for their work on a civic action inquiry project that they worked on throughout COVID. And the outcome of the project was we actually instated a student school committee member. So I know these boys have done many other things to get to that point, but maybe Mrs. Strode is able to talk a little bit more about why she nominated them.
Congratulations, Abby. That's awesome. That's very cool. We're ready for you at the high school and when you're ready, okay? First, I want to thank the school committee for putting the Navigator Award together to celebrate students. That's why we're all here. And their accomplishments should be recognized in some way. So really, thank you so much for doing that. And now with Representative Vieira here, I'd like to give him a shout out because he was at our kickoff for the Civic Action Project last year and really sparked something in these boys to get this project going. So I really want to give him a big thank you for all of his support for our project and our school system. Oh, I can take the, can I?
Yeah, you may.
I'm proud to be here this evening to recognize Michael, Jeff, and Eric. Their work on the Civic Action Project transcended most students their age. As sophomores, now juniors, they learn to use their voice to make a difference and to make change within their school community. They persevered through the COVID pandemic and continued their project. As you know, their work led to Bourne High School students, Vivica, congratulations, being part of the discussions on the school committee. As a result of their work, Michael, Jeff, and Eric applied for and were accepted to the National Civic Youth Board through the Constitutional Rights Foundation. They collaborate with civically engaged students from around the country who have successfully completed a civic action project of their own. As part of this board, they are in the process, and I'm not sure if they're finished that yet, but of planning a National Civic Youth Summit to be attended by other high school students. Their work both on CAP and the National Youth Board exemplifies leadership, determination, and motivation. It is a privilege to be here and see them get this Navigator Award, and I am very honored to be their teacher.
Thank you.
Why is this wonderful to see you in person? You're so tall.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Let's pull you guys over to the middle here. All right. There you go. This is all right. There we go. Well, excellent. Just look.
Smiling.
I know, we're smiling under the mask.
Very much so.
Thank you.
Well, in the 2 years that I've been on the school committee, I feel like this was the best start to a meeting. The last few years have been everything's been rushed, and hiring a new superintendent, and then as soon as the new superintendent started, COVID hit, and it was like walking into a blazing fire, and the meetings have not always been positive and upbeat, unfortunately, and I just feel like this is the start to a whole new beginning, and I'm so proud of the students who received this award, and I'm so proud that we are able to give this award, and I look forward to giving it in the future. So thank you very much. Thank you for parents that attended tonight. Thank you to the students. One last little round of applause. All right, moving on. So to our reports and presentations.
Great, thank you. We'll give folks a few minutes to transition out. We know there are places to be tonight. I know Miss Strode is due over at the senior formal, so thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Thank you
Chris,
again.
thanks.
Thank you so much.
This is not as hard as it looks.
I'm glad you could come. Fantastic. Audience of one. It's good.
This is about normal, though.
Two. Great. Well, I have very exciting news to share. No, not really. The good news is there will be an in-person graduation. So if you haven't heard, what we have here hyperlinked are some more information that kind of starts to lift restrictions. So I will tell you some of the basics so that people are aware of our graduation here. So thankfully, we are having an in-person graduation on June 5th at 10 a.m. on Jackson Field. The rain date is the 6th as well. Seniors will report to BIS at 9 a.m. They know all of this already. And guests will park at BMS and BHS parking lots. There's no pre-registration required because it's an outdoor event now. That's some of the guidance that's just come into play. There's no limitation on the number of guests. So the world is coming back to normal. Yes. Families are encouraged to please sit together and to distance from others as feasible. So there won't be marked off seats. We're just asking you to please, have common sense and give yourself a little space. Masks are optional for all attendees because it is outdoors, but they are definitely recommended for those that are not vaccinated. And we will have hand sanitizing stations on site. So that's some of the basics. For the school committee members, if you can join us, then please RSVP to Jean White. I believe you did get that email. And then we will also have seats for you on the stage. So we do need to know the RSVP so that we have the right number of seats. The program will be digital, posted on the website. We'll have a photographer there to take pictures. And we will have a band made up of current students and alumni. So they have pulled it off. We're so thankful to Mrs. Fournier. But unfortunately, there will be no chorus because there are still singing restrictions. So that's the down low on graduation. We're looking forward to a really joyful celebration of our seniors who made it through a really tough year. If there's any questions, I'll pause there for a second, just in case. Okay, so So moving on, the other information that came out most recently, and it was attached to the email I sent to the whole district so that everybody had it, is about next school year. So again, more good news. Going into the next school year, we're not anticipating any distancing measures. We're also not anticipating mask wearing except possibly for the younger grades, and that information will come out a little later on in the summer. And that really is dependent upon the vaccination schedule. So if the vaccines are up-tempoed, then we might see a no mask. If they are not, then, we might see some masking at the younger levels, is what they're saying. That's pretty much the big announcement. I think that everyone already knew that we're not looking at any remote learning next year. That's been out for a little while, but I'll reiterate it again, that school districts are not encouraged to have a remote learning option. It won't count toward our learning time. So we're looking at a normal year. We're very excited about that. So I'll pause there again in case there's questions.
I just had a couple questions. So will that guidance come from DESE? Is that, okay, not
Definitely.
from the state necessarily, it will come, okay. And then what about the summer program? I'm just curious, will there be restrictions for the summer program? Will the children just need to be masked? I'm guessing it's indoors.
Great question. So it kind of depends which part of the summer. So ESY, with the extended school year, with the students who are special education, that's considered part of this year because it's an extended school year. So it's basically whatever is in place right now. And then for students in our acceleration academies, that's considered next year. So that's kind of the demarcation. Yeah, and as we see that things get lifted, so with ESY, we'll see this is a lot of new information. We'll see what we can incorporate in toward the end of the school year. But that's pretty much what we've been told at the Department of Ed. Wouldn't you agree, Dr.
Yeah,
Place?
that's the exact same thing that
Yep.
we've heard.
Okay, that's good to know because I
Yeah.
wouldn't have thought that.
We're just going to expect things will change throughout the summer.
Yep.
You know,
About 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, but they are really, as you can tell, they're trying to get ahead of next year and give us as much information as possible.
Okay, when do the invitations go home for that program? Will the parents be notified of any changes when it comes to, because there's buses, correct? There's transportation? Okay.
So I believe all the invitations have gone out and
okay.
they're in process, and so people are pretty aware.
Okay, but,
Yeah.
so.
Everything for ESY has gone out. We're starting to work on transportation routes now. All that information was provided to Ms. Downing today, so we can start working out where transportation needs to go for our social skills camp and for our other camps that happen here.
Okay, but COVID-wise, nothing's being affected with that?
No.
Oh, good, great. All
And
right,
as things lift, we'll continue to lift.
great.
Just like we did with the recess and the monitoring. So that was guidance. I'll just pause there for a second. That was guidance that came out about a week ago, so it's probably in between meetings. So now we don't have to have mask wearing when we're outside for recess, for mask breaks. But if a class is still going out for an actual class and they can't really maintain distancing, we're asking them to still stay masked. So yeah, we're trying to relax some of those things. And additionally, when they're outside for recess, there's no more contact tracing involved because the science has evolved to say that there really isn't a transmission when you're outdoors and there's all that airflow. So they're not requiring us to do any contact tracing anymore, which is why graduation will not have all of those restrictions in place.
So no quarantine due to recess?
No quarantine due to recess, yes.
Just to clarify.
I know, you missed it by about a week there, I know. So yeah, that is actually the latest guidance and the outlook for the next school year. If I could also take one more moment on the next school year. So as you'll know, at our next meeting, which I hope you'll entertain to have an additional meeting on the 16th of June, I'll have my entry report. I'm kind of taking up 2 items at once. And at that report, you'll be able to see some of the trends from my whole year of interviews, focus groups, and all of this. So during that time, we'll be really working on a lot of strategy over the summer. But some of the things that have emerged, which was not a surprise, was that we are continuing on our trajectory with MTSS and really looking at how we can meet the needs of all learners. So it's not a surprise because we've been working on it for years. So the good news is, looking forward into next year, we're going to be really super focused on flexible grouping, how we can meet the needs of all learners, whether they be really advanced learners or students who are struggling in certain subjects. And we'll be bringing in, as you know, interventionists. And we just have some really exciting things planned for next year so that all children at all levels will feel like, wow, I feel like I'm really getting what I need out of the school day. So a lot of exciting things that will happen over the summer. But with that, we're looking toward a normal-ish year. So we can't wait.
Sounds wonderful.
Yep. So then we also have a quick update on end-of-the-year events and information, and I would like to hand it over to my colleague over here at the table to talk about some of the senior events from the high school. And I'll move this for you too, Vivica. Okay. Feel free to take your mask off briefly if you'd like.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So this past week has been senior week leading up to graduation, so the seniors have been able to really have the focus be completely on them and be highlighted, which I live with 2 seniors, so I'm definitely saying that they think that they're on top of the world right now, and it is the best thing for them ever, which is really a relief, especially for having to go through one of the most monumental years of education in a pandemic is pretty rough. So having this highlight is amazing for them. So on Monday they had their Born to Rock event where they were able to go through and drive through the campus, which they could stay in their own cars and maintain social distancing and decorate their cars, and it really incorporated the in-person aspect where they were able to see the campus, see their other students' cars, etc., but also be able to kind of have their own independence. And then yesterday was the movie night. They all gathered at Jackson Field and they watched Toy Story 3. I know that they found it to be actually very much a riot, and it was a good bonding event where they were able to use all of the space on the field to still social distance and really adhere to the COVID rules, because I think they definitely do want to be very safe to make sure that their graduation is secured and that it will go all as planned. Tonight is their senior formal, which I know is very exciting, and it is kind of like their prom per se. And I know that I've been seeing personally on social media tonight, people have been posting all pictures of them dressed up and just absolutely gorgeous, and I think that it's definitely one of those things where they were very scared they weren't going to be able to have an event like this in a prom, and especially it's something in high school that just really marks everything. So I think this is very special for them, and that right now they're experiencing it. So we'll probably hear more later in the night about it if you want to check out the Facebook or Twitter. Tomorrow is Senior Awards night, which is very exciting. I know that there's also going to be a raffle, which I think people are pretty excited about too. And then there's the cookout on Friday, right before graduation, which is really going to just put the topper on the cake before they graduate on Saturday. And then for the rest of the high school, it's just been kind of going back to normal. The other students have been really focusing on transitioning from virtual back to in-person, and I think, especially since I'm a junior, I think kids in my grade are a little uneasy right now with the new transition without the seniors in the past week, because now we went from being sophomores in high school in person to now being technically the oldest this past week, which is huge and really marking a change. So that's really all that's been going on, just transitioning back into in-person there.
Great, Vivica. Thank you.
Thanks, Vivica. Thank you, Vivica.
So Ms. Setner would like to be here tonight, however, she's over at the formal. She said she would do a live broadcast, but then she remembered Vivica was here, and she's like, I think she's got this. So thank you, that was great. So a few other things going on. Let's see. I don't want to put you on the spot, but you came in at the right time if you want to talk about some of the things end of the year at your school. Sure. Ms. Bourning and Ms. Norton, and then I have a few from Bournedale. So I'll do Bournedale first. So right now, we are formalizing the Pops with the Principal for incoming kindergartners. So that will be popsicles, obviously. And then they'll have entertainment provided by Roger Ticknell, so a very fun musician. And also, they're getting ready to do a grade 2 end-of-the-year activities that's being planned by the PTA. So those are some of the things that are cooking over at Bournedale, some to be determined. And then if Ms. Bourning and Ms. Norton wouldn't mind talking a little bit about any end-of-the-year things that you have coming up, I can welcome you to the microphone. It is. We're celebrating. So the cable can pick you up, would you? Yeah. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Thanks for the flank support, Mrs. Bourning. So at the intermediate school, we're just forging ahead, and I think we were fortunate, although at the time it was difficult transitioning from the hybrid into full in-person. It feels like we've been there now for a long time, which has been great. So yesterday we had started our garden club in the winter, just kind of doing some indoor sessions, and then we went out yesterday. We had 67 kids come So it was pretty amazing. I mean, you never would think, starting a garden club, that you would have to worry about your seating capacity in the cafeteria with COVID. So we were like, oh, okay, one empty seat, we're good. So we went outside, so that was fun, and we included all the grades, even our fifth graders, even though they're not going to be with us that much longer. So we've been also focusing in on our transition events. So Principal Bourne and I just getting ready for her visits with the fifth grade, and then we're organizing visits for the second graders, for rising second graders and rising fifth graders, and that's really where our focus is. So we haven't nailed down our last activities with the PTA, but we do have some good things in store. And right now we're trying to weigh out how we are going to celebrate our fifth graders as they leave. So we know we'll be distributing certificates and so forth, but because of the half of the gym being a classroom and the other half being a classroom for the gym, and with indoor recess and so forth, and the limited capacity, we don't really have the ability to have parents in and to celebrate that. So we're trying to figure out how we're going to do that, but we know it's important that we do that for our fifth graders. And so that's pretty much what we have going on right now.
And at the middle school, similar, we're really excited to be back in full. It does starting to feel like it's been that way all along. We're definitely starting to see more and more typical middle school behavior, which is good. And also, you know, it's spring at the middle school, so it's great. I think the kids are all still very happy to be back and grateful to be back. We are going to be celebrating our eighth graders. I'll start with the big kids first. We're in the midst of planning a really different eighth grade celebration, to be honest, from what we've had in the past. I think this group of kids, as all students have, but these guys have really lost a lot from their middle school career. And so we are working with the PTA and with the eighth grade teachers to really just throw them a big fun day during the day and make it really all about the kids and let them celebrate their time. I think we're really lucky to have the outdoor restrictions be so changed. So we're just looking at stations and some opportunities for them to get photos together, celebrate each other, enjoy their friendships, and say goodbye to their teachers and those kinds of things. I think they'll have a great day, and we're really excited about that. And I really appreciate not only the eighth grade team, but our special educators and the Unified Arts teachers have all come together to plan a really outstanding day for them, which is awesome. Seventh grade has had a great week already, and they have a great week ahead next week. They started their Olympics, which is something that they have traditionally done. We didn't think it would be able to happen. And again, with the restrictions changing, they were able to go outside and do things like javelin and shot put. They study the Olympics in their history class, and then they make other cross-curriculum connections, and then they go outside and have their own track and field events. So they had the first day of it yesterday. We saw a huge increase of nurse visits today with soreness now that they all ran and raced each other. And we have the finals next Wednesday on the half day. The kids who kind of rose, it's a bracket really. The kids at the top will get to compete again and win. So that's exciting for them. Seventh grade also, we're very excited that they're going to partake in the fishing unit with PE, so they will be honing their casting skills up in the fields, and then they go down to the canal to try their luck. So we'll see how that goes. They usually catch one or two, and it seems like there's a lot of fish right now, actually, so that should be good. And then again, the focus on the transition events is a big piece for us as well. So the principal visits to grade 5, and then there will be a parent program of studies night that same night, so it's June 10th. Information will be going out to fifth grade parents shortly about that. That will be virtual. I think that has really actually worked out well, the virtual events in terms of participation. So fifth grade parents will be able to kind of learn about the offerings and all of those things. And we will also be I'll be offering a drop-in program of studies opportunity for upper class parents as well, just to refresh if they have questions about what students will be taking. But most parents, I think, have a good read on the program of studies, but an opportunity for them to come and make sure they're comfortable with what their students are enrolled in. So it's kind of all we've got at the middle school right now.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me put you on the spot. It was so much better hearing from you. And it's just so wonderful to be back together and to be talking about normal-ish end-of-the-year things. there's such a great vibe in the schools right now. So finishing my report, more good news. We will be upgrading our website. Thanks to the work again of Melissa Ryan, she contacted the company, and so we're going to stay with School Point, but they're going to do a complete refresh. So over the summer, we'll be in the process of doing that. If there are things that you've always thought should be in a certain place, or maybe you wish that that was there, please let me know, because we'll be reconstructing it and migrating everything over so that sometime in August we've got a brand new website. So that's really exciting. It'll have a lot of other capabilities too, like communication. So we'll be able to push things out to Facebook, Twitter, email all at the same time. So with that will come some professional development. Everyone will get trained, and hopefully it'll be a really great refresh for everyone who works on the website too, so we can keep it very current. So that's exciting. And then lastly, I already touched upon the report of entry. So again, I do hope that you'll come out one more time in June for that meeting. Hopefully there won't be much else on the agenda, and we'll be able to hear about all of the input, the thousands of voices that went into this particular report. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so correspondence and announcements. The first is our summer workshop. Our summer workshop will be on July 23rd from 9 a.m. until 2, with lunch from 11 to 12. Jim Hardy from MASC will join us, and he's going to be working on the committee's roles, responsibilities, and goals, and then in the afternoon we'll do superintendent evaluation. So I did send a little email about that already. Just make sure that you have that date written down. That fun-filled morning. And then the next piece of correspondence, or the next announcement, will be that charting the course for any new members is June 12th at Neshoba Valley Technical School. And the online is June 12th as well, but then there's a second part to the online. So if you we're going to do it online, then you'd have to attend 2 mornings rather than go for the 1 full day. So I can give you more information about that too, since it only affects you. And I'm not sure if this would be appropriate for our student representative. I think it probably would be, but I can look into that as well, find out about that for you. But we definitely invite you, Vivica, to the July summer workshop. We'd love to have you there in the morning.
Sounds good.
Thanks. Okay, and then, let's see, the high school graduation, Dr. Joe already touched on this a little bit, June 5th at 10 a.m. I will be there. I hope that committee members, if you're available, that you'll be there as well to join me on the stage, celebrate all of these students who are graduating. And then the last is I just received an email that was passed on from Erin from Jim Potter about the building committee. So because Chris was on the building committee, we do not have a representative on the building committee currently. So there's one more committee meeting, and they don't think that they're going to have a quorum unless they get 2 representatives, 2 volunteers from school committee to attend that last meeting. They do not have a date yet. He said hopefully next month. So I'm not sure if that means the end of June or if that means July. But we would just need 2 volunteers for that. So I told him I would email him and let him know who wants to join the building committee. And so it's basically just finishing up like the last touches on the intermediate school. But like I said, they just need 2 more people to do it.
I'd be happy to sit on it.
Would you? Wonderful. Excellent, Steve. Thank you.
I would as well.
Okay, thanks, Paul. And like I said, this isn't continuing into the next school year. This is just for this one summer meeting, and they think that everything will be closed out. And hopefully, uh-oh. Shake your head over there.
writing if I were you.
Hopefully everything's good to go in the building or not. There
on
could be a
it's on
meeting next
record.
year.
I think it's good to be optimistic.
Okay.
I think it's good to be optimistic.
Okay. So possibly there might be a meeting next year. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm smiling.
Okay. All right, perfect. I will email him and let him know. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right, so for subcommittee reports tonight, there was not a policy subcommittee meeting, so there's no report. But for facilities and budget, Steve, would you like to do that report for facilities and budget, or?
F&B didn't happen tonight because
Oh,
of a schedule
okay.
mix-up.
Oh, that's okay. Do you have a date for when it's rescheduled?
Well, we only have 1 member on it now,
Okay.
so I think we need a minimum of 2.
Okay.
And then Jordan and I, as we've done in the past, we just text each other and come up with a date that works.
Okay.
And now that we can meet in person or remote or do whatever, shouldn't be that difficult to schedule one fairly quickly.
Okay, so in order to add another member, do you think that can wait until our July meeting? We're going to reestablish our subcommittees at the July meeting, or do you want someone to do that right now to be able to attend the next meeting?
Well, Jordan, do we have anything pressing that we should have a meeting? Do we got to make some transfers or anything?
Yeah, we're gonna need to, we have the closeout, well, that can wait. That usually happens later. The town sort of upped our calendar, so my dates are a little bit off because they moved everything forward a little bit on us. That still won't impact when we do our closeout, but we should definitely try to do some line item transfers coming up quick. Which I could just present to the entire committee. It doesn't have to go through.
Sure, we could do that on the
budget
16th.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Is that okay to do that on the 16th?
Sure.
All right, well then, we can take care of that on the 16th, and then at our July workshop, we can reestablish subcommittees. And then that way, there will be at least 2 members on each subcommittee. Okay, curriculum subcommittee. Maureen?
Paul and Ryan, myself, and the 2 curriculum directors, and Melissa met on the 25th, and we discussed the major resource recommendation for history and social studies for next year. So the primary grades, K to 5, is looking at beginning inquiry journeys. Both of these, it's a digital platform, so there are no books that come with everything is digital, and the secondary level is going to be the DBQs, the evidence-based questions, document-based questions, and they're going to have a staggered rollout since BIS is still heavily involved in ARC PD, and so next year they're looking at rolling it out for grades 6 to 12, and then the following year Bourne Intermediate School, and then the following year Bournedale. There's professional development involved, so there's so much on the younger elementary's plates already that they don't want to compound what they're already trying to establish, especially since they're going to be in person this year for their PD and whatever. So this goes along with the new frameworks that came out in 2018, and it was nice that it was in line to be looked at this year, because we look at a major resource review every year according to the contract. The other thing on the agenda was financial literacy planning and the careers and academic pathways. The high school wrote as a high school, applied for a grant, and they received $10,000. And so this summer there'll be 5 staff members that are going to be paid to write the course for the financial literacy, personal finance course that's going to be happening in the fall for juniors. It's a half-year course. And then the Innovation Pathways is looking not only at developing college pathways, but also developing career pathways, and we're partnering with Mass Hire to explore community partnerships. So there's lots of exciting things on the horizon, and there's always some new initiative that is coming forward. So it's nice just to see the dynamics of updating continue.
Thanks, Maureen. What was the name, I don't know if I missed this, what was the name of the?
Inquiry journeys. So it starts with each topic of the social studies in the younger grades starts with a question, which kind of mirrors what the DPQ, the kids do, in the upper grades, and then they're doing their research and presenting as learning along the way how to research, and I guess it's it kind of goes along with ARC's in you were bringing that part in, about how they all have a project that they kind of investigate. So
Right,
it's,
right.
it sounds, and you just think that there's going to be books placed in people's hands, but that's, not the
It's
not the
similar to
pathway.
what they're already starting with at a younger grade.
Yeah, so,
Could I just make one comment about
course.
some of the curriculum stuff? It's awesome to see. I remember when we did our superintendent search, one of the things that came up a lot was making Bourne more competitive, really, because I think we lose a lot of students, and kind of looking at what we were missing. It was an idea that kept coming up, right? And I think that the curriculum developers and the guidance counselors at the high school have done a really good job of kind of moving us forward, and all the career pathway stuff I think is really important. Bourne is starting to offer some of these things that it didn't offer before, and it's going to make Bourne a more attractive place for all kinds of kids that might be pursuing different paths. So I'd just like to congratulate them for that. I think lots of exciting things are happening.
Excellent.
It's really great to be a part of. So
Thanks, Ryan. So the report for CPAC. No, Ryan, we don't have a school committee member on CPAC currently, correct?
Correct.
We will make sure at the meeting in July that school committee
Excellent.
members are part of CPAC for next year.
Great. Mhm.
But go ahead. Thank you.
So we met on the 24th, and it was great. So over our 3 meetings this year, we had 41 attendees, which makes it some of the most attended CPAC in the last 10 years. So that's really phenomenal to see, looking back on the old data from the CPAC and see where we are. To have that many parents attend and engage has been wonderful. So we went through and we had our parent procedural rights for special education, and then we fielded some questions if we needed from a couple of the attendees that were there. They had questions about compensatory services in summer and about independent evaluations. So we handled those questions, and then we went for officer elections, and we have 2 co-chair people, and we also have a secretary for the CPAC now. So we have Margaret Smith and we have Stacy Berube, who's going to be our co-chair people, and we also have Alex Stanton, who is going to be the secretary for CPAC. So now we have officers in place. We're going to work on some summer planning about different opportunities for outreach to get more parents involved, looking for getting involved more in the early intervention levels to get more parents involved, and then planning out what the rest of the year looks like for the CPAC. So from the start of the year to now, we saw tremendous growth. So it was really nice to see, and having as many people involved and the different kind of topics that we focused on. And now we have some connections with Kennedy Donovan Center and a couple of other areas that we can use to provide more resources to families as our CPAC meetings continue to go on.
Excellent.
So
Thank you.
thank you.
Anyone have any questions, comments? Okay. All right, so our next item is very exciting. It's the presentation for the candidate for the assistant superintendent. So Dr. Joe.
Sure, thank you. So first, I would like to formally thank the search committee, and Ms. Fuller was on that, and led by Mr. Geist. So we had a search committee that was given an impossible task to whittle down 28 great candidates into at least 7 or 8 semifinalists. So they went through massive amounts of paperwork, and then they interviewed quite a few people in 3 days. To meet the deadline to be able to present someone to you tonight. We had 4 really great finalists that came out of that semifinal round, and then Dr. Place and I interviewed all 4, and after a lot of discussion, we found someone that we feel is a really perfect fit for our district. So, Dr. Starkey, if you wouldn't mind coming to the podium. That's super. I'm going to put you right on the hot seat. No seat.
No problem.
And she comes to us with over a decade of administrative experience, and really quite a long time in the classroom and beyond. So without saying too much, you have all her materials, but now is your chance to not grill her, please, but inquire about her background and why we think she's a great fit for Bourne.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for having me here tonight. Really appreciate it. It sounds like I'm in the right district. I'm going to be doing some gardening, some fishing, and a resultant trip to the nurse. So I'm in the right place. No, really, again, I thank you for having me tonight, and I wanted to just take a minute to recognize Mr. Heidelberg. He's gone, but it is a thankless job to serve on school committee, and that is not a complete kiss-up comment. That's the truth, I understand. And I also want to acknowledge your students who received recognition tonight from the school committee. Again, your recognition of students speaks volumes about your work and how important it is to acknowledge others. So great job for the kids. The 6th grade class and the 4th grade class, giving them honorable mentions as well. Shout outs to them. And Vivica, great job. I watched your last school committee meeting too, and good for you. It's so important to have student voice and involved in everything. The kids lead the way, you know. So I'm happy to see you here tonight, and thank you for your presentation. And congratulations to the parents and guardians of the 115 graduates you'll have commencing on Saturday. As a high school principal, I can certainly appreciate all of the activities happening this week. And if I fall asleep at this podium, it's simply because I've been at all their activities this week as well. Looking forward to concluding everything in my community on Saturday. Just a little bit about myself. I have been in education for a total of, I think it's 27 years. I spent 23 years in total in the Freetown Lakeville Regional School District. That's where I presently work. But things started for me some time ago at the I.H. Swartz Children's Rehabilitation Center in New Bedford, Massachusetts. I worked there in the summers while I was a student at Salve Regina. My college roommate's grandmother was the founder of the school, so she got me a summer job. And I worked there, and then upon graduating with a degree in English and secondary education, jobs weren't easy to come by in that field, and they needed somebody to start an early intervention program. And they didn't look any further than me because I happened to be standing right there. So I ran the group room program for the Schwartz Center in the first year of their early intervention program. And in terms of shaping my beliefs and my philosophy, it was a really important opportunity for me, being someone who wasn't on the trajectory to become a parent, but to really understand how important those foundational years and finding the right interventions for students can be. So that's where my roots in education grew. And then from there, I ended up as an English teacher at Apponequet Regional High School. I taught there in the classroom for 10 years, and then I was dedicated ELA department chair for 7, so that's 17 years in total in the building, learning about the importance of building relationships with students, how important it is to find the right people to put in front of them through the supervision evaluation process, through the hiring process, which we did back then as department chairs. And then I left Apponequet Regional High School and ended up at the Robert G. O'Donnell Middle School over in Stoughton. It was time to take a foray into leadership on a bigger scale, and I got that job and ended up working there for 3 years. It was a most excellent opportunity to oversee humanities curriculum at the middle level, to begin to understand what it was like for students to transition from elementary into middle, from middle into high school, and how important it is to make those transitions as smooth as possible, to make sure that there was vertical articulation of curriculum and social emotional programming, even though we didn't call it social emotional back then, for students. And then with no intention of leaving, the principalship at my previous school became open. I applied for the job and went back, and have spent the past 8 years as a really proud principal of the Lakers, your South Coast Conference competitors. And I have to tell you that when I heard that Melissa got the job over in Berkeley, I started stalking School Spring and looking for the opportunity to come work in Bourne. I believe my philosophy aligns with your community's philosophy. I have had an ongoing relationship over the past 8 years with your high school principal, Ms. Setner, through our relationship with the South Coast Conference. And she talks about the school system with such passion. It makes me want to be a part of things, you know, and sitting here tonight listening to all of these initiatives that are happening across the district, it seems like there's much forward momentum in the part of, as you're identifying, changing things in your district and making pathways for kids and making opportunities for all different types of learners across the district, to culminate, of course, with that successful situation with, you know, a number of graduates. It's 115 graduates this Saturday. So I'm very excited at the opportunity to join your team here. I will say that I don't know what I don't know. It's my first opportunity to work in central office, so I'd ask you today, I beg your patience, because everybody's new at something once, but I can tell you that I'm a relatively quick study. I believe that I build great relationships with students and staff, with parents and communities. I've certainly started to form a bit of a bond with our central office staff already, I think, although I know Ryan. He's a former Laker. So I know him, and I've had the opportunity to be in Jordan's presence once, and I think things are going to go swimmingly for us, Jordan, I hope. Yep. And I do know Dr. Zhou, if I may disclose, we did spend some time as classmates in the program at Northeastern. So I'll turn things over to you. That's enough about me, I think, for now, but I'd entertain any questions you might have.
A Laker too.
You look familiar.
We're just happy to have you and welcome aboard, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Big shoes to fill, but you know.
I can hear that. I can hear that. I can hear the admiration when people say Melissa's name, and I can sense the roots of the work that she's done, and I can in speaking at the interviews, I can hear that, and I look forward to picking up where she's leaving off and continuing the fine work that's being done here in Bourne.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy to have you.
Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you very much.
I told you it'd be easy.
I know.
See, they're a nice
Softball's
group.
the first time, right? Is
Yeah.
that it?
Nice group.
All right.
Okay.
Other announcements? Are there other announcements this evening, Dr. Joe?
I wanted to make sure, we do have something on budget a little bit later.
Yeah, did we want to talk about the clinic?
Definitely the clinic, yes, please.
Yep, just to let everybody know, if there's still time to sign up. We have our vaccination clinic that we're holding here at the middle school tomorrow, and then again on the second dose of the vaccine will be given on the 24th. We do still have open appointments, so if you want to go ahead to the link and sign up for that, there'll be people there. I'll be there. There'll be nurses from here. There'll be nurses from Barnstable County there as well, and we look forward to seeing you if you require a vaccine.
Excellent.
It'll be from 3
Do
to 6.
you have that pushed out on Facebook? And I haven't seen it. That's why I was curious. I knew
It
it was
went home.
happening through, but
Via email.
Yep, it went home to all families.
as an email. Okay. Have you had a lot of people sign up for it?
76 so far. Mostly between 12 and 18.
Good.
So,
Okay.
We can push that out again.
Yep.
It's for Friday, right?
tomorrow.
The clinic is only tomorrow?
Yep, and then everybody can schedule the second dose for the 24th.
Sure. Okay. All right, great.
And then lastly, our Equity and Diversity Committee continues to meet. I was looking up the date. I don't know if, Ryan, do you have that date?
I believe it's next Monday.
Yeah, and so that work's ongoing. It'll continue through the summer, but there's a lot that's being planned, listening and learning sessions with students, which will be really fantastic because we really feel strongly we need to hear from the voices of the students, and then more surveys to be done. I think this is the year of the survey, but that's okay. I always say that you really don't know until you ask someone, so I think people have appreciated the opportunity to survey, but we anticipate that work will continue in earnest through professional development and continued meetings well into the next school year. So with that, I'd also like to wish everyone a happy Pride Month because it is the kickoff to the LGBTQ plus month, and being welcoming schools, we really want to make sure that that's known. And that's all I have for announcements.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And you can never have too many surveys. Parents love to have their voices heard. Okay, so our discussion items this evening. Jordan, line item transfers. You're first on the list here.
Well, we're going to do that on the 16th because we didn't.
Oh, correct. Okay, I'm
do that
sorry.
Just to the whole committee next time around.
Line item. Okay, I'm putting it down for 16. Okay, great. All right, share positions with the town, Dr. Joe.
Sure, thank you. So I'm up again. So I'm not sure if the entire committee knows this, but I know I've had some mini conversations with folks. when the town budget passed, in that budget were 3 shared positions. They came out of the need mostly for the positions at the town, but also the thinking was that some of the work of these folks could really help out the schools as well. So at that point in time, the 3 that were identified were human resources, facilities, and information technology, or IT. We've had some meetings with Mr. Schiavi, and in talking about those things, I've let him know that we were actually looking at our own IT position through some of the grant funding, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But the other 2, we started to kind of tease out what would that look like. So in speaking mostly with Paul and Emily, we think that we probably need to entertain, obviously, job descriptions through the policy subcommittee, so I'm looking at my policy friends, and then also to perhaps take a look at a memorandum of agreement between the school committee and the Board of Selectmen. So I just wanted to give you some of that heads up that we might be asking for either a smaller ad hoc committee or for maybe the policy committee to be the liaison for that work. And I do have samples from other districts where they've done that pretty successfully, because it's a great idea in theory, but you have to really work out all the details so that later on you don't have issues regarding oversight, evaluation, projects, and these things. There's plenty of work to go around between the town and the schools, but again, we are 2 different systems that collaborate, and so really the way to articulate that, I think, is the most important piece. So right now, we will be looking at some job descriptions. I'll be discussing with Mr. Schiavi again kind of next steps and timelines, but I did want to kind of put it out to the committee to see if people would be interested in doing some of that work, so it wouldn't be the whole committee. Because I do believe that Mr. Schiavi would like to start posting and looking at hiring those folks sooner rather than later, not August, but perhaps in the late June, July time period. So that's piece 1. Piece 2, I believe I have it a little bit later under vote to establish BPS Director of Technology, so I'll take that up right now. As we started to really look at all the needs, we realized that if there was a Director of Technology shared by the town and the schools, that we would take 90% of the workload because we just have so much to do. As you know, Ms. Ryan was our Director of Technology. She did that through a stipended position, but Lord knows she did way more than that stipend would have ever provided. So in looking at the possibility and some of our funding this year, and then looking toward the grant that we'll write for ESSER 3, because remember there are 3 ESSERs. The 3rd one has a multiple review with stakeholders and what have you. We're pretty sure we can write it in a way that will support it for next year. But in looking at this year, through line item transfers we'd like you to entertain at the next meeting, we believe we could probably fund this position partly through grants and partly through what we have. So we'd like to take a good look at what that position would look like, and then possibly look at that job description sooner rather than later and post, hopefully for a July 1 start. So I know that was a lot bundled together, but they were all so intertwined. So I'll pause there for a second.
Okay, so starting with the technology piece of it, you need a vote to approve, you need a vote to establish that position.
Yes, because it isn't currently in our budget. We believe the funding's somewhere within the budgets, whether it's offsets or grants or some other place, because we were able to really use grants to our advantage this year through the different ESSERs, the SOA. So we feel that we can fund it this year, but we would need a commitment that it would be funded year over year, and we really believe it'll be well worth it.
Through ESSER 3,
yeah,
will be funded next year. Okay, so I mean, I believe that this is a position that's been needed for as many years as I've lived in town, and so I think that it's more than necessary. I mean, is there a motion? This will be a vote.
Motion to fund an IT position of Director of Technology.
Second. Okay, discussion? Go ahead, Maureen.
Now, I know we haven't written a job description, but what is your vision for this position?
Sure, and I should have put a sample into the folder. I apologize. Normally, the Director of Technology kind of oversees every aspect of educational technology and the interworkings of devices and infrastructure. So we have a networking specialist. He would remain intact. We have a really phenomenal ESP who helps with devices, but this person would be more overarching because our technology also includes all of the reporting that goes to the state, all of the there's just so much. So at a very basic level, for example, this year we onboarded Clever, and Clever allows us to have a single sign-on for all of our kids. So every time a student comes in or a teacher comes in, somebody has to click that in, get them in the right groups, do all of these different things. So that's a kind of daily thing that Melissa's been doing. She does the Google, she does Clever, she does any of the systems. Then on the other side, once a year, we have this huge rollover of information. So basically, if we don't have somebody overseeing Power School and Galileo and Imagine Learning, and you just name it, there's like 30 subscriptions that really is overseen. So it's a lot of day-to-day, but it's also someone who will help us write our 5-year technology plan, where we say, okay, how many devices do we actually need? How many were broken? So right now, this work has been parsed out to a lot of folks, and again overseen by Melissa, and we take it up in central office every week. So this would be a single person that's really able to network and do those things. We have tripled the amount of devices than we've ever had right now.
Will there be any interaction or any support for any staff member that needs, or is it strictly in the background? Is there anybody interacting with people in classrooms or schools?
Great question, thank you. So yeah, what I've seen, again, in other districts in my more recent past, it's been the main provider of PD for onboarding new teachers when they come. They'll sit down with them for a few hours, make sure they understand it all, provide PD during those PD days, Google technology. They just know how to do all those things, so yeah. They would be upgrading the website over the summer, all of these different pieces. But definitely a teacher-facing, student-facing person that's also kind of at the administrative level to work in the background and in the foreground.
And so I see what this person does. Can you tell me what the person that we already have working in the district, how their two positions are separate?
Sure. So we have a networking person, so Nick, who is fantastic. He makes sure that all this doesn't crash. So he's very much in the background. When the phones go down, when things go down, I can't even explain to you what he does, but he does networking. Usually there's a few funnels. Teresa does our information technology. She runs our reports. She's working in Power School, so she's doing a lot of the day-to-day of that. And then Deb Bissonette does a lot of our devices. So she'll fix devices, hook up printers, do these different things. So basically this person over all three, but they also would be helping with what Jordan's doing right now and making sure that the RFP goes through for the technology bid for the middle school. They would be, really, a few years ago they would have been putting in fiber optics and working with those companies. There's major grant funding that's asking for a 5-year technology plan, and where are you in that plan and all that. So there's a lot of this kind of discrete work that we all just pick up with whoever's available to do it.
And Nick's job is full-time right now?
Yes. You're welcome, thank you.
I think just the fact that we have 2 new programs for the district, the new social studies and ARC, I mean, they're all online.
Everything's online.
Everything is online, and it's just so necessary to have a full-time employee that handles that.
And if we want our teachers to continue to teach, with that forward-thinking, blended learning, we really need to support them. So thank you for asking about teacher support, definitely.
Go ahead, Paul, and then Ryan.
I think, along the lines of what Ryan was saying earlier about what we're doing for financial literacy, I think that this is also something that's really important. From a competitive standpoint, I think it's also vital. I mean, IT capabilities there, it's as important a utility as light or heat in a school, and eventually it's going to be at least as much so. So, the other piece that I like very much is the idea that we can now have one person responsible for this. It frees up all the energy from the assistant superintendent role and from all the other roles that have been pulled into it. Now they can specialize more in the areas where they have the most strength, and we have someone who can be responsible for that plan. So I think we'd be foolish not to wholeheartedly move ahead.
And as Ms. Bourne will attest, I know she's jumping, you know,
Very excited about this.
because she had to be hands-on. Other people and many of our administrators had to be hands-on and plugging things in and making things work. And I mean, we just went through the year that proved how much we really need this position. So I think this is definitely the year. And then to really think forward into where we want to go with our innovation pathways, we're continuing to look at computer science and, you know, all of the information technology as a possible pathway. And we couldn't even begin to understand what types of machines we would need right now, you know, for AutoCAD, for engineering, for all these things. And, you know, there's usually a go-to person, guy or gal, that would be like, okay, I'll help you set up that lab. I think I know what you need. We just don't have that knowledge base right now.
I was just going to say, I feel like it's like the missing link between what Kelly and Lisa are doing and what Nick is doing. You know what I mean? What the people are doing on a day-to-day basis. And so someone was jumping in or Melissa was doing it. But when you talk to Kelly and Lisa, pretty much a lot of their initiatives now are technology. Like you said, ARC, and that kind of overarching link I think was missing. So I'm all for it.
Okay, then it's a roll call vote. Maureen? Yes. Ryan? Yes. Erin? Yes. Steve?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
I say yes. Carrie?
Yes.
Vivica? Yes. Excellent. So it's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We get to work on that.
Wonderful. You can post that job. Okay, so moving on to the other part of your discussion, the shared role with human resources and facilities. So are you talking to Mr. Schiavi about both of those positions and trying to establish what they would look like? Okay. Do you feel that it is, I know we've discussed a little the human resource part. I mean, there are how many employees in Bourne?
A lot. Over 300 something.
Over 300
Yep.
employees. There needs to be a human resource person.
And again,
of
we would all
employees.
pick up the pieces, you know, basically
Right.
the entire central office was a human resource person.
Exactly, but every time someone from central office or a building administrator has to do human resource business, it's taking away from their job, and that's just, it's not fair, and it's just, it doesn't make sense. So what is I guess my question is, are you trying to figure out how much, I know we kind of talked about, like, how much would we get, how much would the town get of that human resource person? Is that still trying to be decided? Because we obviously have more employees than the town would have. Has that been talked about at all?
So again, it's been initial discussions, and I wanted to bring it to you before the discussions continued on. So just as a clarifier, this year, it's being 100% funded through the town budget. So as we move forward, if we start to see percentages, it might be asked that we pick up a piece of it. What Mr. Schiavi said, I don't want to put words into his mouth, but this is a quote. He said it all came out of the same, it comes out of the same pot. You know, but we really need to figure out the details. So for the human resource specifically, our executive assistant, Mel Coelho, is fantastic. She does most of our HR work. But again, she also does so much more. So we see it as things that are pretty black and white that any human resource place would do, things that don't have a lot of subjectivity. They already do payroll and benefits and some other pieces, so it would be more along the idea of buckets of types of jobs, so we wouldn't have a crossover. And that's what we've got to start figuring out and have more discussion with Ms. Coelho and with Tony's folks. So that's the HR one. The other one in facilities, Jordan and I had a great amount of discussion, and I think what we kind of came to terms with is very similar, that it would be project-based, that it would be collaborative in nature. As we do this foray into the performance contracting, that this would be the town point person for all of the energy audits and these different things. And Jordan, you've had experience with a facilities person before, so I don't know if you want to provide a little information on that and how we would envision that going.
It's no secret that I don't have a degree in facilities management, which, you know, what if you want a facilities director, you know, and you know, the town has a lot of buildings besides just our 5 buildings. So, you know, how the role played out previously was that person could come in, and instead of me having to hire someone to tell me, you know, what size compressor or rooftop unit I needed, they know the specs just based off the square footage and all of that stuff. So it's a collaborative process. Well, it saves us money in that regard. So that's how it worked before, and it worked well for quite a while.
To me, it just seems like collaborating with the town just would make things so much more efficient.
Mhm.
How does everyone else feel?
And again, especially with the year we just went through, if you think about COVID and some of the situations that people were in, we had to look at a lot of American with Disabilities ADA accommodations that normally would have been handled out of an HR office, but instead Jordan took the first round, I took the second round, whoever was available to do it. And it took more than hours, days, weeks to do all these things, to do it right and really give people the time they needed. So I see it as a benefit in both places, again, as long as it's carved out and very specific. So I look forward to getting back in touch with Tony to kind of see how this would go. But again, we want these agreements to kind of even, I plan to be here a very long time, but to outlive us as leaders and really be between the two boards, because I think that's important.
So would you just, we can just discuss this a little further in 2 weeks if you get more information from Tony and see what next steps would be?
Sure. And I'll keep the chair and vice chair apprised. That's okay.
Any final questions, discussion?
Sounds like.
Okay, great.
Thank you. So I'd like to send it over to Ryan, Dr. Place, to tell us the good news. This was also in your packet. It looks like this. To get a letter with that seal from the state that's good news is not always what we see, but go ahead,
And
Ryan.
it's not usually about special education to add money to something instead of just take it. But, so we go through the circuit breaker process looking at special education reimbursement for students who cost over a certain amount. So, and this year with everything that happened, we went over our amount from last year. And if you go over that amount by more than 25%, as long as you prove it with the state, you're eligible for reimbursement. So we went through and looked at everybody's services that qualify for circuit breaker, how much of that was done in person, how much of that was done remotely. Depending upon the level of service, there are certain fund amounts tied to each funding, so you have to go through each individual service, whether they get speech or occupational therapy, or if they're having consultation from certain individuals, depending upon their degree levels, that has a certain cost to it too. And we go through all that, and we ended up determining that our costs were more than 25% over. So based off that, they're providing us with $68,596 that has been put into our account. So that was not that we want to go over our costs, obviously, but for the state to recognize that it's above and beyond what would normally be budgeted, and to be able to reimburse us, that was a pretty wonderful task. So.
Yeah, great job. That was a lot to pull together. And so that was when we, if you recall, we asked the Board of Selectmen to transfer $100,000 from the Special Ed Reserve Fund. This was a long shot at that moment. Remember, we asked in February. He was putting it in. And so we finally got the letter. We were even surprised, which is really wonderful. So with that said, when Jordan does all of the accounts and sees where we are, we may have a small give back to the town, which will then ask them to put back into the Special Ed Reserve Fund. So hopefully by the 16th, we'll know what that amount will be. But it's all good all around, so.
Great, thank you,
So
Ryan.
state normally says about over 75% of people who apply for extraordinary relief do not get it. It's very hard to qualify for, so I was really happy, and Mr. Geist was able to help me out with some of those pieces too. So it was really great to be able to get that done.
Thanks.
Good stuff.
All right, so finishing up the list. So again, the major grant funding, there was ESSER 1, which I believe, Jordan, we have pretty much expended, the first round, yes. ESSER 2, we're still working on. That was a lot of the salaries for this year. Some of that will transfer into next year. So again, when we presented to you the budget, it was our best guesstimate on a lot of this thing, and it was way before we knew about ESSER 2 and 3. So that's why the line item transfers will put things into different places. ESSER 3 has a very large process, I'm just giving you a little foreshadowing, where we actually have to really write a tight grant. And again, Melissa is a champ right up until the end. She's helping us to draft this and get it done. It doesn't have to be submitted until the beginning of the next school year, but if you want to draw down from it, you have to submit it early. Part of that is a stakeholder, you have to show that you've invested stakeholders, done some type of a public forum. And so we're thinking that some of the entry findings will be able to trickle in there, and then we would have some type of a public forum where at least people were invited to give their input. So that's kind of still coming down the pike. As part of ESSER 2, if you recall, we did earmark some of that for our current budget, and that's for the academic interventionist positions. And in looking at the needs that we know we're going to have, we were able to allocate enough funding for 2 academic interventionists at Bourne Intermediate School. I know Ms. Norton's jumping out of her seat. And again, we know we'll have a need because of what we're seeing in our benchmarking. We know that when we're going to set up this complete structure to really make sure that all kids get what they need, we felt that it would be important to have those 2 people, perhaps one with more of a literacy background, another with math. So I think it'll be really complementary. Yeah, so we're still kind of, again, making sure that all the funding is in the right buckets, which is why we'll do the line items. And beyond that, I don't know if you have anything else to add about grant-funded positions.
This year has been an extraordinary challenge when it comes to payroll. I'm not going to lie. You know, the town has always has been incredibly supportive. You know, they use their municipal COVID CARES Act money to support about $500,000 worth of salaries, and because all this money was rolling out so fast, you know, timelines were being changed. You know, first it was going to run out in December, so they took, you know, we gave them those salaries, and then it got extended, so it ended up being until February. So right now we're still carrying about another, you know, if that was halfway through the year, probably another $400,000+ worth of salaries that were not in our budget for just to deal with COVID. So you're going to see a lot of money moving as we journal entry money out to COVID, and then maybe we'll still have to backfill some salary lines because we encumbered all the salaries and then we had to unencumber them. So it's been a challenge. I sometimes lose sleep as I see numbers change, but it's going to be a process to close out this year and get those all those people in the right spots as far as the journal entries to those salaries. But again, you know, a big shout out to the town for them stepping up when we didn't know we were getting. You know, the ESSER 2 and the ESSER 3 coming. So really appreciate their support.
Yeah, and you know, it's really detailed work. When we say ledgering, it looks like it's this easy thing, but it's really not. So the journal entering, the ledgering, all of that, and that will set us up so that down the road, when we have our audit, when we have, you know, our end of year reports, it's all very clean, which is what we want, nice clean records. So, you know, Jordan and his office is doing a good job. So a couple of last things, I knew there was a few more with the grant funded. And again, so this is within the structure of the budget that we presented to you already with the offsets and now with the grants, so we're not asking for any more money. We were able to increase our Title I reading specialist from a 0.8 to a 1 FTE. Our high school theater position, we're increasing from a 0.6 to a 1, and that person will also teach communication skills, public speaking, and again, all the career pathways. We're very excited about that. We're looking at the needs at the middle school and possibly looking at another specialist position, which might be theater. Again, to see how all that would work with flexible grouping. And then we're also still looking at Bournedale to see what the needs are there, if it's another academic interventionist or perhaps a media specialist or perhaps another place in the special education realm. We that's such a moving target with the little ones. So, you know, Mrs. Carpenita wanted a little more time to see that, but we definitely have the funds to be able to support that through the ESSER 2 before we have to reach into 3 and present all of that to the stakeholders. So it's actually a really exciting opportunity. And the last thing I'll say, more good news, right now, if Representative Vieira was here, he could tell you what's going through the State House to finalize the budget is that there'll be a $40 million, let's call it savings account earmarked for districts like us whose enrollment dipped but is increasing. So we're still not exactly sure how the process will roll out, but what I'm hearing that is being advocated for is that districts like us who already know we have 115 kids back, so I do want to tell you that, as of right now in our schools, then we're certified on October 1st. I believe they're going to do maybe a July 1st, they're asking DESE to do another what we call pull. That would be, again, Teresa, what she does with the information technology. So they'll pull and they'll be able to see, oh, you have that many kiddos coming in. And then perhaps August 1st or September 1 would be instead of wait till the October 1. So when that happens and it gets recertified, we would be eligible, we already know we're eligible, to dip into that $40 million pot to get more funding because we knew we'd have more kiddos with us this fall than we did last fall. So we might be seeing, and we don't know how much or what the allocation is, but we might be seeing more funding come our way, which would be really fantastic.
Great news.
Good news, yeah. A lot of our homeschooling students have come back and they've already recommitted for next year. So again, 115 with us currently right now in classes. And we know there's at least another, 30 to 50 more who are just finishing their paperwork and ready to come back to us in the fall. So I'll try to get that update, as in current update, for the 16th, but if anything, I'll have it for the July meeting.
All good news.
All good news.
Good position to be in when there's money coming in.
Yes, there is.
All right, wonderful. So we just need a vote to accept Barbara Starkey as the candidate for Assistant Superintendent. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve Dr. Barbara Starkey as our new Assistant Superintendent.
Second. Excellent. Any discussion, last questions? Perfect. Roll call vote. Maureen?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Aaron? Steve?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Yes. Harry? Jessica?
Yes.
I say yes. Welcome. Thank you
aboard.
again. Thank you. Thank you for tonight. Okay, so we already voted to establish the Director of Technology, and line item transfers will be at the next meeting. We just need a vote to approve minutes from regular session 4/7/21 and 5/5/21. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second. Okay. Any discussion on the regular session minutes from 4/7 and 5/5/2021?
Is that word, should I choose up? Okay.
Yes.
On the April 7th, on page 4, under discussing the Navigator Awards, it stated in the minutes that the intention of the award is to not be inclusive and would be something that encompasses our vision, da-da-da-da. So I think maybe the word just not gets removed and it says the intention of the award is to be inclusive. So we're not, I just...
Yes, okay. So that was, okay, yep, I can, that was for, yeah, April 7th, okay. Thank you. All right, pending that correction, it's a roll call vote. Maureen?
Yes.
Ryan? Yes. Aaron? Yes. Steve?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Yes. Carrie?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Regular session minutes approved. Okay, executive session minutes from February 3rd, March 3rd, and March 17th. Is there a motion to approve executive session minutes?
I move that we approve the executive session minutes as written.
Second. Any questions, discussion, corrections? Okay, roll call vote. Maureen?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Aaron? Yes. Steve?
Yes.
Paul?
Yep.
Carrie? Yes. Vivica?
Yes.
And I say yes. Okay, executive session minutes approved. Great. Our future agenda. So on June 16th, we will meet again for our last meeting of the school year.
Warrants and Payroll?
Sorry.
It's okay.
Let me see it. We need a vote to approve warrants and payroll. Is there a motion?
I move move that we approve warrants and payroll as presented.
Second.
We're
Any
us today,
discussion?
Maureen. Good job.
Okay, roll call vote. Maureen?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Erin?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Harry?
Yes.
Vivica?
Yes.
I say yes, and actually, I don't think Vivica's supposed to vote in that one, but.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Enthusiastic.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay, our future agenda items. On the 16th, we will meet and we will hear the report of entry findings from Dr. Joe. We'll take care of the line item transfers, Jordan, and the Level Up program spotlight. And then would you like to continue the discussion on share positions, or would you rather just wait until the summer workshop to talk about that? That's up to you. I mean, if you think that meeting will happen, that's very soon. I mean,
I'd like to touch base with Mr. Schiavi,
Yes.
because he might need some answers sooner rather than later. And I also think in order to stay on timeline, it might need to somehow hit a Board of Selectmen meeting in the interim, so,
Okay.
yeah.
We'll put that as, okay, great. All right, any last questions, comments? All right. Great. So we need a motion to,
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
roll call vote. Maureen?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Erin?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Carrie? Yes. Vivica?
Yes.
I say yes. Meeting adjourned. Thank you so much, everyone.